Oshkosh Beer Blog.
I'm Adam from McKnight & Carlson Wines.
And this is Oshkosh homebrewer Jody Cleveland, who'll be joining us today. But before we get into these beers that we're going to drink, I want to say that Jody and I are going to be doing a presentation at the Oshkosh Public Library on October 10th. It's about homebrew, and we're going to take some side trips into the history of brewing in Oshkosh. We'll have 3 different homebrews there to drink, to sample. We're going to have a couple of collectors of Oshkosh brewing memorabilia with us. And it's all free. Starts at 3 p.m. under the dome at the library. So even if you don't want to
Thunderdome,
it may be that day. Even if you don't want to listen to us yap, there'll be plenty to see and plenty to taste. So 2 of the beers we're going to be having that day are beers from recipes that were brewed in Oshkosh in the 1920s and 1930s, which brings us around to what we're doing today. So we have 3 beers here that were brewed in Oshkosh in the late 1960s, early 1970s. So each of these is between 40 and 45 years old. And these were not beers that were necessarily recommended to age, but they have been. So we're gonna see what they're all about. We're gonna start with People's Beer of Oshkosh, and this one I think is probably the youngest. How you doing? This is probably the youngest of the batch because it's a canned beer that says, "Please don't litter," and they didn't start putting that on beer top lids until the 1970s. And this has a pull top lid. Have you guys?
Never.
It just dawned on me. I think I'm the only thing at this table older than these beers.
The only thing?
Yeah, well, you know. All right.
I remember making chains of those pull tops with old style.
I remember stepping on them going to the hospital. Here we go. I heard no
Satisfying hiss.
no hiss.
It'll be fine.
This looks like it's still.
It's the right color,
Yeah.
kind of.
Well, this People's People's was a little darker than Chief Oshkosh was, and that aroma is like plums.
I don't think it's what they were going for.
So this shares a lot of characteristics with like dessert wine. Like
Yeah.
we were talking about
Yeah.
before, sherry,
Yeah, it's kind of got that
Port
sherry.
Madeira. It's got that kind of oxidized aroma anyway, or kind of nuttiness. I get like kind of like almond or kind of like a nougat type thing. All right, I'm going
Doesn't
in.
taste great.
I'm going in.
It's surprisingly clean.
It's kind of caramely almost.
Yeah,
So I think the inside of this can
Iron.
perhaps
I'm tasting that
Yeah.
metal
has
too.
broken down a little
Yeah,
bit.
definitely. But I mean,
Very-
other than that, there's not like
They have a
off flavors in here. Or anything.
sanguine
Sanguine. There you go.
characteristic.
Like
the blood of
yes,
Oshkosh.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go. Well, you know.
It does hit the spot.
Which spot is the question?
I'm surprised. I don't think it's terrible. I expected this to really kind of degenerate, but this one. I
So
think
is
held up
this the
pretty well.
oldest of the bunch, or is this the?
This is the youngest of the bunch.
Okay.
Yeah, almost certainly it's the youngest.
Okay.
At
No, I mean-
43 years old, probably.
Wow. I mean, you get a nice little bit of malt character on the finish, and I think that's about for my palate anyway. That's the only beer-like characteristic I can pick up.
Yeah, I mean, there's no carbonation left in it at all. It's
No.
gone. Totally dissipated. Now,
So we've had that in the bottle too, but I'm not remembering how that compares to this.
so out of the bottle when I've had it, it was much more oxidized than this.
Yeah.
Like it's oxidized for sure, but not like to the degree that I've had out of bottled beers, and we'll probably see that with these coming up. Now, I want to say this is totally not fair. That what we're doing here is we're taking a 40-year-old beer plus a year-old beer that wasn't meant to age like that. So I brought along some analysis of a couple of these beers here. So these brewers in Oshkosh would send their beers off to the Siebel Institute in Chicago for blind tastings and analysis. And this is a report that came back on the People's Beer. I'll just keep this brief, but it says, the sample makes an exceedingly good impression in almost every respect. And they go down the whole list through the entire beer, and I mean,
Really?
they praise it up and down, yeah. So I'm sure in its day, this probably was quite a bit better than what we're getting now.
So when was that done?
That's from 1971, which was about
Okay.
when that beer actually came out. So that brewery closed in 1972, so that was the end of that.
Yep.
Beer 2.
Okay.
Let's go with Chief Oshkosh.
All right.
This one we have to be a little bit careful of pouring because there's a pretty fair degree of sediment down here.
Oh, Jesus.
So, and we only have a 7-ounce bottle here, so.
You guys can have my share. That's fine.
Oh,
I heard it.
there was a hiss.
Wow.
I also like that you're using the bottle opener for each one.
Yeah, we have Rahr bottle opener, People's bottle opener, and Chief Oshkosh bottle opener.
It's a good juju.
So the color-wise,
Yeah, it's one bubble.
the Chief is actually darker, which would not have been the case when the beers were fresh. Chief Oshkosh was actually a lighter colored beer than People's was. There is some carbonation here, which is
definitely.
just shocking.
Some sea monkeys in there too, but
Well, that's good for you. The aroma's much lighter too. I'm not getting a caramely kind of. Oh yeah, maybe I
it is a
am
bit
now.
similar to the other one.
Well, you kind of like a Madeira type dried fruit.
And this is more winey too.
Yeah.
Like, it's dry also. I have a feeling this thing has been carbonated.
Yeah.
It hasn't stopped fermenting in the
fermenting,
bottle. Yeah. Which, I mean, if you look at the amount of sediment in there, it's pretty substantial.
This is so reminiscent of a tawny port. It's kind of incredible. Like a real drier style tawny port. And you get like dried apricot and
There's a bit of tartness in here too.
yeah. This is actually pretty good.
This is it's surprisingly good. This is not what that beer tasted like for certain. I don't know.
It's not bad.
You know, if there were even more, there's the body even kind of held up.
Yeah.
The People's
Yeah.
beer seems sort of thin. This one actually has a little bit of body left in it.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
What
there's.
year do you think that one's from?
It could be anywhere from 1961 to 1971.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's about 67, 68.
Wow.
Just based on.
The fact that that beer has carbonation is incredible.
It's very dry.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really finishes. Okay, so that beer, this is another Siebel Institute analysis of the Chief Oshkosh beer. Let me just go. The sample submitted can be judged most favorably in every respect. The beer is clean, smooth on the palate, fairly aromatic with a bare touch of wininess, yet mild as well as pleasingly hopped.
So I had a bit of wininess to start with.
Yeah. And Chief Oshkosh was always more heavily hopped than People's. So I wonder if that's maybe contributing a little bit to the preservation of that beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the last beer is a little bit more confusing. This is Rahr's beer. Now, there were 3 Rahr brewing companies in Wisconsin. One in Oshkosh, which closed in 1956. One in Manitowoc that closed at Prohibition. And then one in Green Bay that closed in 1966. Now, when the Green Bay Rahr closed, the Oshkosh Brewing Company bought their labels and started making Rahr beer in Oshkosh after 1966. And that's what this beer is from.
Okay.
So this was brewed in Oshkosh from a brewery that originally started brewing in Green Bay. And once again,
Wow.
I heard it.
we've got a bit of a hiss. Interesting. And carbonation. That just shocks me. I'm surprised. And actually, there's even a little bit of a head on here.
So now, Lee, this is a beer that you've never had before, correct?
No, I've never tried this beer. The other
Okay.
two I've had before, but not this.
And how did you acquire this beer?
Wow.
All these beers were given to me by people who read the blog.
You'd be crazy enough to drink them?
Well, yeah. And what are you doing right now?
I'm along for the ride.
There's a fair amount of carbonation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the aroma in here is much cleaner.
Yeah, I don't get as much of that sherry kind of.
Mm-hmm.
They all kind of share that same little bit of aroma.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's probably from the oxidization over the years.
Mm-hmm.
It tastes quite a bit like the Chief Oshkosh.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, were they just brewing the same beer and ramming it in
no
two
kidding.
different bottles? And I mean, they're similar enough where.
It's pretty nice though. I still think the Chief Oshkosh is probably the cream of the crop
Yeah.
for 40-plus-year-old beers.
It's definitely the most interesting tasting of the 3. This one seems very clean. I mean, there is that tartness that the Chief Oshkosh
Yeah.
had, and this isn't there.
I'm amazed it's still that carbonated.
Oh, I know. I mean,
Yeah,
this has almost a whiff of like a little head on it. You know?
It's kind of watery almost.
Yeah, it is.
I'm surprised it's so neutral tasting after that long. So, Jody, you've brewed People's beer.
Yep.
How do you think the People's compares to what you've brewed at home?
Well, I like to think the one I brew is a little better.
I would hope so.
But I'm not really getting much of a comparison as far as taste in those. And I've tried your Chief Oshkosh too, and it's quite a bit different.
So what do you think, Adam? I mean, you haven't had beers of this age before?
No. I think they're all good. I mean, I think you can kind of tell what they may have tasted like at one point. I mean, they're all kind of, probably German-style lagers or close thereof, and very clean, refreshing probably in style. I mean, they're all kind of the same hue if you look, even at this stage.
Yeah. I guess what surprises me of the three is the one that I expected to hold up best is the one in the can, People's beer.
Yeah.
And I think that held up the least well.
Yeah.
Of all the three.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I should mention, so on that morning, I should have thought of this earlier, on the morning of October 10th, prior to the library presentation, you're going to be pouring a beer at Oatmeal's too, aren't you?
I'll have an oatmeal stout at probably about 10:30.
Okay. And that's free to sample too. There's no nothing. All right,
So that's Saturday morning.
Yeah, that's Saturday morning before the library event. That'll be happening during the farmers market. Right?
Yeah, at Oatmeal's.
All right, man.
I have one quick question for you.
Yeah.
So Rahr's, are you familiar with the brewery, Rahr's brewery in Texas at all?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the connection there?
So the Manitowoc, these three Rahr breweries in Oshkosh, they were all related. It was an uncle and then two nephews.
Okay.
The guy in Oshkosh and the guy in Green Bay were brothers. The guy in Manitowoc, their uncle. The people that are brewing in Texas now are descendants of that line of the family. But yeah, they're all still related.
Yeah, Rahr's craft brewery in Texas now making a variety of styles of beer.
So, I mean, do we all feel well? Do we all?
So far.
For now.
All right.
For now.
Prost.
Okay, cheers.
Thanks for being here, Jody.
Hey,
Thank you.
Cool.